from his 4th championship, but Hall of Famer Scottie Pippen is feeling a title in the bubble and gave his reasons earlier this week, saying, quote, "Well, I'm going to be honest. It's not NBA basketball. It's not the hard grind. It's not the travel. It's not the fans. It's not the distractions. Really, to me, it's pickup basketball. Like, there's a whole lot of things that make the NBA hard. The bubble makes the NBA easy to me." Slick Rick is back with us, but we're also joined by CB, my guy Chris Broussard. So I'm going to start with you, CB. Are you worried the Lakers title won't be respected?
No. I mean, that comment from Scottie, I think, is ridiculous. Yeah, that's a bit concerning because really what makes NBA basketball is the competition against other NBA players. And that's what these Lakers are going through. Look, an asterisk is for when you had an unfair advantage that your opponents didn't. You used performance-enhancing drugs. You cheated in some other way that gave you an advantage over the competition. The Lakers are going through the exact same thing as every other NBA team and player in that bubble. They're getting COVID tested every day, just like everybody else. They're away from their family for the same amount of time as everybody else. They're eating the same food. They're walking to the games, walking back home from the games, sleeping in the same hotels. They're not traveling, but neither is anybody else. So they have no unfair advantage whatsoever. There should be no asterisks by this. And I gotta be honest, anybody that doesn't respect this title as much as any other title, I think that is ridiculous.
CB, I gotta argue with the very first sentence that you said is the exact reason why you're wrong. You said NBA basketball is about the competition against other players. The Lakers championship may not be respected because of the lack of competition LeBron had to go through. Think about the other players you're talking about. NBA MVP this year, Defensive Player of the Year, Giannis. LeBron didn't have to go through him. The best two-way player the game has seen through Jordan. That's what they said about Kawhi. LeBron didn't have to go through him. If you're comparing the Lakers to everybody else in the bubble, I agree with you, CB. Yes, they're going through the same thing. But what analysts, what opinionists, what columnists are going to do, they're going to compare the Lakers championship and their competition to previous champions and their competition. And when you look at the Lakers championship versus the competition of previous champions, that is where there's going to be a discrepancy. Think about this. The last time we saw a team worse than a 5 seed in the NBA Finals was 1999, the New York Knicks, CB. When it comes down to it, people are going to pull out resumes, and they're going to say, wait a second, LeBron, you got 3 months off during the season at 35 years old? Wait a second. You didn't have to hop on a plane and travel to any other stadiums, to any other arenas? Wait a second. You didn't have to deal with the depth perception issues that come with playing in a 20,000-seat arena. When you compare this Lakers championship, not to other teams of this season, but when you compare this Lakers championship and their run to other championships and their run, I do think people like Scottie Pippen are going to try to disrespect it.
Yeah, guys, I'm not worried that it's not going to be respected because I already know that it won't be. And I agree with Scottie Pippen in terms of that it's not the bubble. The bubble is not the mental challenge that I think that we all thought it was going to be. There's some pluses and minuses. Yes, you're away from your family. Yes, you have to go through the COVID testing, but he's right. There isn't travel. There aren't the hostile environments that you have to play in. There's a lot of things that make this easier. I'm never going to discount any sort of championship. But as Acho pointed out, there are plenty of reasons to do that. One, you didn't play the defending champions in Toronto. You didn't play the best team in the Eastern Conference during the regular season, the 2-time defending MVP. And ultimately, you didn't play the pre-bubble favorite that was supposed to stop you from even getting to the Western, or at least the NBA Finals. On the other hand, who did they play? They played the Blazers, who had to fight their way to get into the playoffs, and then lost Damian Lillard and Zach Collins. They played the Houston Rockets, a one-trick pony. They played the Denver Nuggets, the miraculous comeback kids, and now they're playing the Miami Heat, a 4th seed who is considered a Cinderella. So whether it's fair or not, the reality is people are going to look at the path that they took and the path that they didn't have to take. And there's plenty of material to say this doesn't quite measure up.
I've been on Speak for Yourself enough to expect this from Acho. But, Rick, I can't believe this. So the Lakers are to blame because the Clippers couldn't hold up their end of the bargain? Because Giannis couldn't hold up his end of the bargain? And they are going through at least, I'd say, 4 future Hall of Famers. Hit me if you disagree. Damian Lillard, probably a Hall of Famer. Russell Westbrook and James Harden, definitely Hall of Famers. Jokic, probably going to be a Hall of Famer. And if we start looking at it like this, then forget that championship Kawhi had last year. I mean, Kevin Durant was hurt. Klay Thompson got hurt. You know what? Forget Golden State's first championship in 2015. Kyrie Irving was hurt in Game 1. Kevin Love didn't play. And while we're at it, Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars, your first championship, Magic only played 75 minutes. He was injured. That one doesn't count either. Are we really going to do this?
CB, they do this to LeBron. Don't act like LeBron is spoken in the same breath as Isaiah Thomas. Don't act like LeBron is spoken in the same breath as Kyrie. Don't act like LeBron is spoken in the same breath as anybody besides Jordan. This is what they do to LeBron. You talk about future Hall of Famers in Russ and in James Harden. Yeah, maybe for scoring, but not for winning championships. The last time a scoring champ, which is what Harden and Russ Westbrook are known for, the last time a scoring champ led his team to a finals was, I believe it was 01 with Shaq, or maybe 2000 with Shaq, because it was probably Iverson in 01. The fact of the matter is, people are going to poke holes, CB, because it is LeBron. And it is undeniable and it is indefensible all the breaks that LeBron has gotten. Now, it's not LeBron's fault. I'm not blaming LeBron. Like Broussard, like Slick Rick said, I'm not blaming LeBron, but it's a matter of respect. Respect is earned. LeBron could only earn so much respect because of the circumstances. It's not a matter of blame. It's just a matter of keeping it real. When it comes down to it, LeBron has more scrutiny than anybody else, and there are far too many holes to be poked in this championship argument.
Acho, I was right there with you until you started the victimization of LeBron James. Look, the fact of the matter is, Broussard brings up the fact that people discount the Warriors' first title because Kyrie and Kevin Love got hurt. People discount the Raptors championship because KD and Klay got hurt. That's part of the narrative. It's not the Raptors' fault. It's not the Warriors' fault. And it's not the Lakers' fault in this instance. But it is the reality that they weren't playing the opposition at full force. And that same thing has happened along the way here. We got Jamal Murray getting hurt. We've got Damian Lillard getting hurt. Now we got Bam Adebayo and Goran Dragic. It's just the reality of the situation. And by the way, I was really curious because you brought up a very interesting point, Acho, about why don't we give the respect to LeBron for his championships the way that we do categorically for Michael Jordan as an example. Of Michael Jordan's 6 championships, he played the #1 seed from the Western Conference in the finals 5 out of 6 times. And the only one he didn't, it was the #2 seed Lakers with Magic Johnson, the first championship. Meanwhile, LeBron James has won his championships by beating 3rd seeds twice and losing to, or 2nd seeds twice and losing to a pair of 3rd seeds. And now he's going to pick up another one potentially by beating a 4th seed. Again, it's not LeBron's fault. He can only play against who he's going to play against. But anybody who wants to say that he didn't necessarily play the absolute top competition that was out there has an argument to make.
Broussard, rebuttal, sir?
I'm glad you guys brought up Jordan because I'll agree with that. Where it will hurt LeBron is when you're comparing GOATs, all right? You're trying to figure out who's the GOAT. You're comparing all-time greats. You nitpick, and LeBron will lose in this argument with Jordan. I'll give you that. But just in general, will this championship be respected? Should it be as respected as most? Yes, because I can point out to any injury, even LeBron's title, his best one in 2016, we can look at Draymond being suspended in Game 5. We can look at Andrew Bogut getting hurt and take that away from me. But generally, we don't. Acho, you brought up the title in '99. when the Knicks went as an 8 seed against San Antonio in a lockout-shortened season. Nobody looks at Tim Duncan and says, you know what, he's got 5 titles, but that first one, I mean, it was an 8th seed. It was a lockout year. It really doesn't count. People don't look at it that way. They say, you know what, he's got 5 rings. Good on him. And I think with LeBron, you'll say he's got 4 rings now. And he'll get the respect.
So, CB, you genuinely believe that this title, and given the fact that it's a bubble and there's no travel, you don't have to deal with that. You can stay in the same bed. You don't have to deal with distraction from your family. You think that this title, once in the bubble, merits the same amount of respect as other titles when you play the full 82-game season, no rest, have to travel, have to go on the road, opposing crowds, etc.?
Absolutely, because guess what? My opponents weren't traveling either. My opponents didn't have to deal with the distractions of family either. They went through the same thing that I would. They got the same advantages. If you want to call those advantages, they got them too. So what's the difference? So, yeah, there's no question. And I can also look at the 3 months or 4 months off and say that could be viewed as like LeBron should be credited for being mentally tough enough to keep himself in shape during those 3 or 4 months with no light at the end of the. Did Kawhi keep himself in shape?
At 30.
Did the Clippers stay mentally ready?
There is
no.
They bowed out in the 3 or 4 months.
There's no argument, Broussard,
LeBron should get credited for that.
There's no argument to say that the 3 months off didn't immensely help LeBron. 35 years of age, you need the break.
Yes, there is.
No, there's no valid argument.
I've talked to players.
You cannot say that the layoff hurt LeBron more than it hurt anybody else, or that he overcame. It's everybody starting at the same starting point, and I could make a case that at 35, with the resources that he has, that he had the benefit, as every superstar player who would have a gym and a court and all of the access to things. Vast majority of players, Montrezl Harrell, I guarantee you, didn't have that. Was that a huge effect on the Clippers? Yes. And what really disturbs me is that you started with the Shannon Sharp approach to the competition by naming individual potential Hall of Fame players. And CB, you know this as well as I do. It's not a one-on-one contest. It's not who the best stars are. It's who am I playing as a team. And if I'm playing against the #1 seeded team, it doesn't matter whether they have a future Hall of Famer or not. They've demonstrated over the course of the season that they are the most formidable opponent. And LeBron James, again, no fault to him. But the fact of the matter is he hasn't had to face that ultimate opponent. Certainly not as much as Michael Jordan. And we are always talking about GOAT conversation. LeBron James isn't about one ring or one championship. It's always in the context of where does he stand against the all-time greats.
Well, and I think he's ahead of all the other all-time greats except for Jordan, because I can nitpick some of Magic's championships, some of Kareem's championships, Bird, et cetera, et cetera. The one I can't is Michael Jordan. So if we're just talking GOAT conversation, this might be one where you nitpick against LeBron. But again, Denver beat the Clippers, okay? It's not LeBron's fault that the Clippers weren't as good as we thought they were. Giannis, he got beat by a 5th seed. That's not LeBron's fault. And I think people need to look at it like Miami was better than Milwaukee. They beat them. And they beat Boston, which beat Toronto. So look, I've also talked with ex-players, Rick, and you may have as well, who have said that as they got older, they needed like 20, 25 games to get back in midseason form. And that's where I said for LeBron, it may have been harder at his age to get back in the real basketball shape and where he felt good and his rhythm and all that. It may have taken him longer at 35 than it took Jamal Murray at 23 years old, or some of these youngsters who can just get up and are ready to play. So I think he should be commended at 35 for getting through all of these obstacles that probably were easier for younger players to get through.
Well, LeBron can only beat the teams on his schedule and the opponents on the court opposite him, but it will be interesting to see how much respect people give.